It was late in the evening on December 16th, 2025. All around the world, a sudden news alert popped up on phones and televisions. It sent a wave of shock through many communities. President Donald Trump had just signed an important paper. This paper, called a proclamation, quickly doubled the number of countries facing U.S. travel restrictions. There was no warning before this big announcement. Immediately, great confusion spread everywhere. Travelers at busy airports did not know if they could fly. Families worried deeply that they would not be able to see their loved ones for a very long time. Diplomats from different countries were surprised and upset, asking for more information. Everyone felt uncertain about the future. The new list of nations with travel problems grew to almost 40. However, the first news stories did not clearly name all these countries. They also did not explain the exact reasons why these nations were chosen for new restrictions. In the next parts of this story, we will look closely at this new list. We will learn which countries are now on it. We will also understand the very controversial reasons that put them there. But there was an even bigger surprise waiting. Hidden deep inside the official words of the proclamation was a very severe new rule. This change was so harsh that it directly hurt the families of U.S. citizens. It was a detail that would completely change the lives of thousands of people in just one night.
What exactly was this secret rule, and which American families would it affect the most? The list grows. After the news of new travel rules, the full list of nations facing limits became clear. President Donald Trump's new proclamation added 20 more countries. These rules divide the new nations into two groups, those with a full travel ban and those with partial restrictions. 5 countries were added to the list with a complete travel ban. These are Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria. This means most people from these nations cannot enter the United States. Also, for the first time, people using travel documents from the Palestinian Authority now face a complete ban. 2 countries, Laos and Sierra Leone, also moved from partial limits to a full ban. Then, 15 other countries were put under partial restrictions. These include Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon, Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. For these nations, some types of visas, like for tourists or business trips, are now limited. When we look at a map, it shows how wide these new rules spread. The new bans hit Africa the hardest. Out of the 20 new nations, a striking 16 are African. This includes 4 of the 5 countries added to the full ban list: Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and South Sudan.
Most of the countries with partial restrictions are also African, such as Nigeria, Tanzania, and Zambia. This big focus on African nations makes many people question the reasons. The White House states that these bans are due to problems with security checks and sharing of information. But the many African countries targeted bring up bigger questions about the real motives for these decisions. Yet a puzzling fact stands out. Syria was placed on the list for a full travel ban. This happened only a few weeks after President Trump had welcomed Syria's new leader at the White House. At that time, President Trump even spoke of helping Syria succeed. This sudden change for Syria suggests that the official reasons for the travel ban might not be the full truth. This makes us wonder what is truly happening behind the scenes. There are three main reasons for the new restrictions. First, many countries on the list had weak systems for checking people. This meant their governments could not always give reliable information about their citizens. The administration pointed to issues like widespread corruption, fake identity documents, or no proper birth records. This made it hard to know who was truly trying to enter the U.S.
Second, some countries had high rates of people staying in the U.S. longer than their visas allowed. This is called a visa overstay. The U.S. government saw this as another security risk. For example, the White House said Syria still had problems with its document systems and a high rate of visa overstays. Third, some countries refused to take back their own citizens who the U.S. wanted to deport. These were called recalcitrant countries. If a country did not cooperate, it made it harder for the U.S. to manage immigration rules. For example, the ban on Palestinian Authority travel documents was linked to security worries in the region, with concerns about checking abilities. The administration said these reasons were based on objective facts about security and how countries managed their records, not on discrimination. They even pointed to past events, like an incident in November 2024 involving a person from Afghanistan, as reasons for needing stronger checks. However, when looking closely at the numbers, some other countries had similar problems but were not put on the list. This makes people wonder if the official reasons tell the whole story, or if there are other unstated motives. The official rules sound like normal steps for security. But in the next chapter, we will see that the way this new ban works is very different and harsh, especially for families. The administration quietly changed one key rule, which changes what the travel ban truly means for thousands of people. Chapter 4: A New Kind of Ban. Chapter 4 will focus on the most important change in the new rules, which affects families. Before, if you were a U.S. citizen, you could help your close family members, like a husband, wife, or children, come to live in America. This was called a family-based visa. But the new rules, signed by President Donald Trump in December 2025, changed this completely. Now, American citizens cannot easily bring their immediate family members from the 39 countries on the banned list. This means if your husband or wife, your children, or your parents live in one of these countries, it is now very hard for them to get a visa. The new rules say that families must ask for a special permission called a waiver. Getting this waiver is very difficult, almost impossible for most people to obtain. This particular change is a significant departure from previous rules, which always had broader exceptions for immediate family. This change is a big problem for many families. It means that thousands of American citizens will now be separated from their loved ones for a long time, maybe even permanently. The U.S. government previously made clear exceptions for families, allowing spouses, minor children, and parents to join their relatives in America.
However, these new rules take away those important pathways, leaving many in despair. This is a big difference from how immigration has worked for many years, where keeping families together was a core principle. The new policy targets the very idea of family reunification, causing widespread sadness and uncertainty. But this difficult change for families is not the only new thing in the December 2025 rules. The government also started a completely new type of ban. It does not target a whole country as previous bans have done. Instead, this unprecedented restriction targets specific travel documents made by a particular political entity. This action has big geopolitical implications, meaning it will greatly affect international relations and how people travel from certain areas of the world. 5. Strange friends. This chapter looks at two situations that seem very difficult to understand. The first one is about Syria. In November 2025, President Donald Trump welcomed Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Shara, to the White House. It was the first time a Syrian leader had visited the White House. President Trump spoke good words about al-Shara and promised to help Syria be successful. This was special because al-Shara was once seen as a terrorist by the U.S. government. After this meeting, the U.S. government even started to remove some rules against Syria. However, only a few weeks later, in December 2025, President Trump made a new rule. He put a full travel ban on all people from Syria. This meant Syrian people could not enter the United States. The White House said that Syria still did not have good ways to give out passports or check people's security. They also said too many Syrian people stayed longer than their visas allowed. This situation was very confusing. It showed a strange mix of helping a country while also stopping its citizens from coming to America. Next, we look at a new kind of ban. This one is on travel papers from the Palestinian Authority. This ban is different because it does not stop people from a country. Instead, it stops people who use special travel documents made by a political group, the Palestinian Authority. This was the first time such a ban happened. The White House said this ban was because of fights in the Gaza Strip and West Bank. They said bad groups work there and have hurt American citizens. Also, they said the war there made it hard to check people correctly. They believed the Palestinian Authority did not have enough power to control these areas and ensure safety, so it was not possible to check people with these documents well. With the U.S. acting in such new and unexpected ways, how are other countries around the world reacting, especially those countries that are directly affected by these new rules? Are they trying to fight against these changes, or is the world now too tired to challenge President Trump's America anymore. 6. The world reacts. The new travel rules caused a global reaction. This time, the world's response was different from the strong protests seen in 2017. In 2025, the international reaction was more muted, not as loud as before. Many people wondered why other countries did not speak out more strongly against the expanded ban. The African Union shared its concerns. It asked the United States to make border security rules that were fair and based on facts. They wanted the rules to show the long friendship and partnership between the U.S. and Africa. Some African countries, like Sierra Leone, said they would keep talking with U.S. officials to understand the new changes. Other nations, such as Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda, also wanted more details about the limitations for their citizens. Experts watched the situation closely. Beverly Ochieng, an analyst from Control Risks Group, spoke about the travel ban. She suggested that the policy could make U.S.-Africa relations difficult and unclear. She warned that this situation might give chances to other big countries like Russia and China. These rivals could increase their power and influence in Africa because of the U.S. policy. Some observers thought the quiet reaction was because countries felt tired. They had seen many similar immigration rules from the U.S. administration. Others believed that many nations did not have the diplomatic power to challenge the United States. A previous Supreme Court decision had supported the U.S. president's authority in these matters, making it harder to fight the ban. Even with these diplomatic issues, one geopolitical analyst pointed to a different, more immediate problem. This expert stated that the real cost of this policy would not be paid by foreign governments. Instead, the American economy itself would suffer. This would be a very high price. The international community might be slow to react or hesitant to act strongly. But what about the American economy? As we will explore next, this travel ban is expected to create a multi-billion-dollar hole in the U.S. economy. It will hit key industries very hard, where it hurts the most. 7. The price to pay. The new travel ban, signed by President Donald Trump, did not just affect people far away. It also brought big problems to the United States itself. Many economic reports showed a very high cost to the nation. Experts predicted that by the year 2035, the country's economy could lose a staggering amount of money. This loss might reach $12.1 trillion from the total value of goods and services produced. This was a very large price for the U.S. to pay for the new policy. The problems were not only about big national numbers. They touched everyday life and important American industries. Hospitals across the U.S. started to struggle with staffing. They found it hard to hire enough doctors, nurses, and other medical workers, especially from countries now under the ban. Technology companies faced difficulties too. They could not easily transfer important employees with special skills from these restricted places. Even farms felt the impact. facing critical shortages of labor needed to harvest crops. The ban clearly hurt vital parts of the American economy, reducing its strength. People living in the U.S. from the affected countries felt great uncertainty every day. They held valid visas, but they worried deeply about their future and their ability to stay. Many could not visit sick family members abroad, like parents or siblings. They feared that if they left the U.S. for even a short time, they would not be allowed to come back. This meant painful, long-term separations for many families, making their lives much harder and full of fear. Despite these immense human and economic problems, the administration strongly insisted the ban was correct by law. They often reminded everyone of a time when the Supreme Court had supported an earlier travel ban. This legal victory made the administration confident. They believed they had the full legal power to make these new, expanded rules without challenge. However, some respected legal experts began to look closely at the details. They quickly saw weaknesses in the administration's new arguments. They thought this current ban, which was much stricter and especially hard on families, might have finally gone too far. These experts openly wondered if the highest courts would agree again this time. Many now believed a major legal battle in court was not just possible, but quite likely, challenging the very foundation of the new policy. 8. The final wall. The new travel rules put in place by President Donald Trump in December 2025 were a clear part of his overall plan. During his second term, the administration focused strongly on controlling immigration from many sides. This travel ban was just one piece of this bigger multi-front war on immigration. It aimed to stop people from coming to the United States through various legal pathways. The administration felt strong about its legal power. It often pointed to a past Supreme Court decision that upheld the first travel ban in 2017. This decision said that the president had the right to make such rules for national security. The government stated that it was doing its duty to protect Americans. However, legal experts outside the government began to see new problems with this latest expansion. They thought this new, tougher ban, especially the rules about families, might face strong challenges in court. The change that stopped U.S. citizens from easily bringing their spouses, children, or parents from these countries was a big point of concern. It departed greatly from past immigration practices. Also, the ban on Palestinian Authority travel documents was new and different, which could lead to fresh legal arguments. Many important questions still did not have clear answers. For example, the way specific countries were chosen for the ban remained unclear. While the administration talked about security problems, visa overstays, and countries not taking back deportees, the exact reasons for adding each of the 39 nations were often hard to see. There was also the strange situation called the Syria paradox. President Trump welcomed Syria's new leader at the White House in November 2025, promising support. But then, less than 2 months later, he banned all Syrian nationals from entering the U.S. This made many people wonder about the true goals of the policy and if diplomacy was being hurt by immigration rules. Also,
What would be the long-term effects of these bans on global friendships, especially with so many African nations now restricted? Would other countries turn away from the US and seek new partners? This travel ban was more than just a new rule. It was a big statement about what America believed in and how it saw itself.
It showed a choice to prioritize national security and control over other important things like family unity, economic benefits from immigrants, and global relationships. It also raised questions about America's role as a welcoming nation. As the official start date of January 1, 2026 got closer, people wondered about the lasting mark of these decisions. They questioned if the stated security benefits really needed such a high price in human lives separated and economic losses for the U.S. economy. The policy forces everyone to think about what America wants to be in the world. Given the severe economic and human costs, do you think a president should have the authority to enact such sweeping travel restrictions without congressional approval?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.